Now the owner, her brother had went to jail, but that had been a while back, and she was still trying to fight this. But then I realized, well, he's home, and I can't even get over that mine not home at night, or they're not calling when they come to the house. So that's what I did. I started going for it myself, getting information, doing research myself, and it brought me all the way to this point.
Talk about your experience on the Hill. What was that like?
Oh boy, when I first went, I can't remember my first time. I can remember one time going with a lady, Judge Murphy. She went there to tell them what this was doing to the community and what it was doing to the families. I went with families against men, with them. And we all got seats and everything. And I remember on the panel, there was a guy whose last name was Howard. Maybe he was the attorney general then. And they were listening, and people were saying all these things bad about why it should be this murder of this one guy, and why they need the protection and public safety and drugs are bad. And then poor Miss Murphy got up there. She had all these nice charts saying that what it was doing to the community and what it was doing, taken away from the family, and it was taken away from everybody. And then he said, well, thank you. We don't have to pull our charts out because that's exactly what we wanted. And then I realized, it's bad. It's bad. I thought to myself that everybody's going to jail. If he say that's good, everybody's going to jail. You got to do something. You can't let this stay like this. And it was frightening. It was frightening because you leave out with, what do you do? What do you do? But the internet was all the rage, and I knew that I could get on there at night and tell people what had happened to me and what could I do, and they sent emails back. So it was frightening. It wasn't like a relief like now.
Was it overwhelming?
I'd say, yeah, because you thought it was good things going on, and you were making the right, fair choices. That wasn't happening. Not in my opinion. Not in that means.
Why were your sons? They were arrested in Maryland, but ended up in a Virginia jail.
No, they were arrested in Washington, D.C.
In D.C. and ended up in Virginia.
And they took it to Maryland because some of the people may have lived in Maryland, and Maryland wouldn't take it. And then they took it to Virginia because you could take it anywhere in that Fourth Circuit. So they wanted somebody to take it, so they next took it to Virginia. There's still Fourth Circuit. And so Virginia took it, so they took them over to Maryland. They had a choice to go to D.C. jail or go to Virginia. And so my son said, well, I'm going to go to Virginia. Why would I go to D.C. jail?
Thinking that was bad.
Yeah, thinking that's bad. He said, I'll go to Virginia because it's, a state, and they're thinking political science kind of thing. It's a state, and you have more to work with there because they'll see that this is not right. I asked my son, I said, well, what are we going to do out of get some money to pay lawyers? They told me, no, don't do anything. So they're going to see that we're not guilty. They're going to see we're innocent. That ain't going to happen. They didn't care. That wasn't even the question. Put them in a conspiracy. It's like they're all in one nutshell together. It doesn't matter.
When did things start happening for you? When did you see light at the start to see light happen? To getting your kids home, your son home?
When I saw Lawrence home, I never trusted it. I've been so much, they say, they lie and say this is that rule, this is that rule. You go from BOP say it's up to the region say it's up to BOP, and I asked laughing who's his boss, and he tell me to talk to another woman named Karen White, which is under him. So I didn't see any light until I saw him on soil other than the facility.
How was he freed?
Well, the 2-point reduction in 2007, and it became retroactive in 2008, and he was able to come home. So I had to cut him off for like 2 years or so. And he came home because of that first reduction. And this next reduction, Lamont's almost ready to come home now, so maybe it'll give him a month if it gives him that. So he won't really feel the retroactivity.
Okay, so your other son will be home
sometime this year, I'm hoping.
But there was really nothing you could do. They just actually had to serve their time.
Well, you thought it was something you could do because you thought that they would look over their case and see that they didn't have any drugs or guns or no participation with this guy. And the phone calls they say that came from my house to their shop was because the phone next door was off, so they never checked the content of the call. They just put the calls in and say that the calls came from the house. They assumed.
So you didn't have an attorney.
I had court-appointed attorney.
Do you think the outcome would have been differently had you hired a private attorney?
I don't think so because the prosecutors were having their way, and they were going to do whatever they had to do.
And as you started to research this whole incarceration of black males, you started to see that this was happening a lot.
Oh yeah.
So at that point, had you decided that it was maybe a conspiracy, some type of?
I think it was a plan. No, it was a plan.
Effort.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. You know, the thing about it is, you can't feel that this just happens by coincidence. Because I live in a neighborhood where drug users come all the time, and there were the Virginia tags with the white guy coming. You know, late at night, I used to run them from across the street because the girl would go, she sold something, and, you know, she's moved now, but she sold something. And at like 9:30, she would lock the apartment door so you couldn't get in. They hit on it and kick on it. And I'd be coming from work at night, and I told them, if you don't get away from here, I'm going to call the police. Then they go. But those were Virginia tags. Those were Maryland tags. They weren't people from the neighborhood. But they wouldn't do that in Virginia.
And they were white people?
White guys, you know, and sometimes it'd be girls with them, but it would be white people. They wouldn't do that in Virginia. You could ride through. That's why the jury didn't understand when they say they were working on a car late at night. In my neighborhood, there's a tire place that stays open all night. You got a problem, you get your tire fixed. You got another problem, you're on the street working on your car at night. So, but you don't do that in Virginia. You could ride through Virginia and never see that. The places where they lived, they never saw that. So they weren't a jury of his peers. That wasn't happening.
And so you're here today at the War Against Drugs conference, and your son told his story. What do you hope happens as a result of your son and yourself?
Well, I hope not just a result of he and I. I can't wait till Lamont comes home, and then it's the three of us. I think that there are a lot of solutions, a lot of research that's been done, a lot of policies that have been analyzed, you know, and a lot of solutions that have been suggested. But it's time for a movement. It's time for a movement think tank. Like, we're going to do this. Let's all get together and think about it and strategize. So when we step outside that box, we can do something. Something like Jesse Jackson used to do. Not like what he does now, because I showed him a picture today from 1988. When he was at the Black Family Reunion, when they did things, when they did the marches and they did the movements, and they didn't care if they got arrested. But now, I understand, he doesn't want to get arrested. He doesn't want to be slung around in a movement. But there's still an age of people that need to do this. There has to be a movement, and a movement, a struggle without any things happening, it's not a struggle. I mean, you know, somebody's going to say, well, lock them up. But if you go get your licenses and your permits, when they lock you up, if you're not misbehaving according to their rules, then you can have this movement. And I think it needs to be strategized where it can be. I don't know how to do those things. I'm not educated like that. My education has come from the experience and from my own reading.
But you know, people in the civil rights movement weren't educated either.
Yeah, I know. But this is a new time where education means a whole lot. You know, like I don't want to say that, but you know, like I tell my boys, you can have a degree in butt scratching, but you can get a job. But you go and say you don't have a degree, they're gonna kick you to the curb.
Let's talk about job, because your son was able to find work even though he has that record.
Oh yeah.
How is that?
Well, his first job came from a girl that they went to Howard University with. And that was to get something, but he was interested in the real estate and stuff, and he went with her, and then later on he moved on to another job. But that was his first job, and it came from an old college friend. And he already knew when he got home he wanted to do computers, so I got him a business card so he can have his own, like, computer.
And he talked about that. He got training on computers.
Well, he got, see, that's like,
computer repair?
Yeah, computer. He would take them apart, you know. And he got exposed to that cadmium and lead. The lady, Rachel King, went to That was a big deal. She went to Allenwood when he was there, and the warden didn't want him to talk to her alone. And she said, no, we'll talk alone because he was exposed. And I don't know how that goes. I couldn't get the guy from the union to talk to me anymore about it, but he did benefit from that. But a lot of people come home and may not be able to get a computer job, even though they worked 5 or 10 years on computer repair and taking them apart and all that kind of stuff, But that was something he could use. Like I tell people, he tells them, guys that come home and he tries to help them find jobs, he said, look, if you did floors when you were in there, go to these places and tell them you can do floors. Work a few days for nothing to show them you can do this job.
Or start your own floor business.
Yeah, or start your own business. All it needs is a business card. I'll pay for their business card, $9.95, and it's cheap or something. And so he got his business card. That was when he started first, was computer repair. And then he got the job in real estate. Then he went and got his real estate license. He studied, he got his real estate license. He went on to another bigger segment of that, And he was able to get a job with someone doing wholesaling cars to dealers. They love cars and motorcycles. I think they were small. And also he does, real estate. He does his, when he works full time from 10 to 6 is a premium select, which is healthcare. And he really likes that because he goes into the hospitals and gets the accounts and stuff like that. He's also, because he knew about computers, and since he used to get all the magazines, I could get him all the free ones and everything. He has helped this office upgrade. They got iPhones and iPads now, so they can get messages all the time, and it's convenient. So, every morning I ask him. I put in my mind, every Friday I'd ask him, is anything you want to talk about? If it is a problem. So, but every morning I said, well, baby, how you doing? He said, wonderful. It made me have a better attitude every day, too. Because he brings me to work, picks me up, wash the clothes, put the trash out. I say, boy, oh, my goodness, I can't believe I missed all of this for you. That means, I said, you got catching up to do. And I tell his brother, y'all got a lot of stuff to do for me to get on, because the brother, I tell him, he's going to be my chauffeur all the time. So, it hasn't passed, but it's a passing. Some things.